he should report it that they might seize him. Well, that's a long chapter, but the question before us is, why does God delay? And as we've seen, there's a lot of reasons. And let me just again say this, it's to exhibit our frailty. See, as long as Lazarus was alive, there was still human hope, okay? Maybe they'd come up with a new medicine, maybe he could fight off this sickness somehow by himself. When he died, hope was gone, okay? And God waits and lets things get so bad that it drives us to his sufficiency, and that's ultimately the only real hope that we have. Read 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 9, 2 Corinthians 3, 4, and 5, 2 Corinthians 12, 7 through 10. It exhibits our frailty. Somebody said one reason for his delay seems to be to allow us time to exhaust every avenue of hope until we come to the conclusion, without any doubt, that we're totally helpless without him. And we rest our faith in him and him alone. That's why John 15:5, Jesus said, without me you can do nothing. We don't believe that until things get really dark and desperate, and then we start to believe it. It said Lily Roth, an entertainer who drowned her career in a sea of booze. Her struggling was portrayed in the picture called I'll Cry Tomorrow. It's played by Susan Hayward. Her victory came when she came to the place where she confessed, I was absolutely powerless in trying to overcome my problem with alcohol, and finally I was able to utter 3 little words, I need help. Then we must not just turn to any help, but to God himself, and that's the key. So if delay in your life, hey, it exhibits your frailty. That's okay, because you are weak. and God's strength is perfected in your weakness, but his strength isn't perfected in our arrogance or our strength or our deceived, power, whatever. It's in our weakness. So delay brings you to a place of desperation where you turn to God and trust in him. Second of all, to enrich our faith. They could trust God for healing, but not for resurrection, okay? And the more impossible the situation, the more mature faith we need, okay? And, I imagine after this, after Lazarus died and he brought him back to life, they could probably trust God for almost anything, Spurgeon said, faith untried may be true faith, but it is sure to be little faith. Faith never prospers so well as when all things are against her. When a calm reigns on the sea, spread the sail as you will, the ship moves not to its harbor. But let the winds come howling forth, and let the waters lift up themselves. Then, though the vessel may rock, and her decks may be washed with waves, and her masts may creak under the pressure, yet it is then that she makes headway toward the desired haven. He said, I make a sad confession over which I mourn, that when my soul is happy and things prosper, I do not live so near to God as I do in the midst of shame, contempt, and casting down of spirit. Afflictions fetch us to God like the barking dog drives a wandering sheep to the shepherd's hand. And so he's delaying in your life to enrich your faith, okay? It'll deepen your faith. All these crises, all these problems you go through, it's amazing. And then thirdly, evokes God's glory. Evokes God's glory. Somebody might try to take credit if God, were to heal somebody, but nobody hardly takes credit for a man being raised from the dead, okay, and has been in the grave for 4 days. Come on, man. Remember Abraham and Sarah? She was barren, and if God had given them a baby when she was young, it would have been a miracle, but God waited until she was biologically dead, too old to have children. Why? Well, Romans 4:20 and 21. It came to a place, he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God and being fully persuaded that what he had promised he was able also to perform. So God's going to let things get so bad that when he moves in, nobody will be confused about who gets the glory. Well, let's face it. God's timetable is strange to us, and at times it doesn't make sense. It seems silly. It seems senseless. He delays so we can grow and give all the glory to God. Back in 1613, John Oxenham wrote this. He writes in characters too grand for our short sight to understand. We catch but broken strokes and try to fathom the mystery, all the mystery of withered hopes of death of life, the endless war, the useless strife. But there, with large clear sight, we shall see this. His way was right. His way was right. Well, you in the storm, God seems to be ignoring you. Hey, cheer up. He's not. He may be slow, but he's always on time. Lord willing, catch you next time.